You want to give us a clap?
Gave you the clap.
Give us a clap, not the clap. Sorry, inappropriate. Hey, what's up?
Let's just play.
Should we cut that out?
No, we're including that.
We're including that. Okay, what's up, everybody? We're
Welcome.
starting off with that, and welcome back to the JT Music Podcast, which is, as we found out, pretty much just for our friends and family.
Hey,
we've got
a
lot of friends and family listening to this. Which now that we're aware of it, we've joked about. It's
Yeah,
like,
my grandma's watching it too. So shout out to you,
what's
Judy.
up, Grandma? Judy, what's up? Yeah, our buddies from home back up north listen to it too, and one of our buddies, Jerry, had something really sweet to say. He was like, yeah, I love listening to it. It just feels like you guys are in the room with me. And I was like, oh, are you trying to make me tear up right now?
That's sweet.
But no, it's really cool that you guys are supporting. And obviously, we know our fans are listening to
Yeah, and I
this
think that's
too,
the same effect for anyone. I think that's why Let's Plays and any of that stuff has worked. You know, the parasocial relationship thing.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're self-aware of it.
Yeah.
Then, just go all in. You know, I've had a fun house for me for the longest time was that, just like it felt like that group of friends, or whatever, that aren't really your friends, that you would just kind of hang out with via the gameplay videos or podcasts or whatever have you. So,
dude, and even for me, I almost forget sometimes. I kind of started to develop a bit of a parasocial. It's definitely with Funhouse because we watched a lot of them, but even Markiplier back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Like we've kind of joked about the Markiplier rap we made, which was, I don't know, at the time, it seemed like a bit clout chasey, just like making this love song to Markiplier, and it was a little bit cringy. But at the time, and I've said this before, like at the time, I was watching a lot of Markiplier. I really enjoyed watching Markiplier, and I knew I wasn't friends with him, but I did get it. I know what that parasocial feeling is like, and it's
those don't know parasocial relationship is essentially that phenomenon of a creator, an actor, someone. It's easier with YouTube or anything long form where you feel like you build a relationship with that person where they feel like that friend, but you guys aren't friends.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of it.
The most common thing is seeing that person, seeing that Twitch streamer or whatever in person, then making an inside joke with them and trying to make an inside joke that might not land, which is
it's like you have the unfair advantage of it's just such a one-way relationship.
Yeah, that's basically
the best way to explain it is it in action. It's like, oh, hey, you can do the best you can, but it's ultimately like, I don't know you. And so that's kind of that's what that means. Yeah. But it's also, we've been on the, with how much we've been putting an effort into NPC and, any of the Patreon or Facebook group stuff, we have been able to put names to faces, and it's still parasocial degree, but it definitely it's up more, it's a person for each of us, because we've each met each other. Yeah. So that's a big thing. And that's a lot of fun too, to kind of transcend that parasocial thing. I wouldn't go out to call ourselves friends and whatever. We're friendly, but I don't know. It's more. It's more, and it's very valuable, and we appreciate it and treasure that. So
no, for sure. Cool. Like you said at NPC, recognizing fans either from the past or that you've seen at conventions or just from the community. That's pretty cool. It's So what are we talking about today?
Well, we're gonna jump into conventions that we've been to. Just some stories. We went to our first convention in 2016, so we have stories, of things. But I don't know.
I think I've got a good way to start, going from parasocial relationships and stuff and fans and being grateful. Our first convention was one of my favorite. I know, you know what I'm gonna say. One of my favorite moments. It wasn't the first person who recognized us in public for me, but it was one of the first. We had a fan recognize us, and his name was Ethan. I still remember. He's Ethan. Yep. And Ethan, if you're out there, love you, man. You were the first person to ask us for an autograph.
Which is pretty cool.
That was so cool. And that was towards the beginning of the con, I think. Yeah. PAX East 2016, our first convention together, at an official gaming convention.
In hindsight, so much happened at that convention.
Yeah. Yep.
Even just in the gaming industry, it felt like, because that was before Overwatch had come out.
Before, I think, Doom.
Yeah, Overwatch and Doom were kind of about to come out, at that time. And so that obviously for our channel and then for the gaming industry of gamers, those are big games, big franchises. So, but Ethan was the first fan we met. It was over the little overhang at the BCEC, Boston Convention Entertainment Center. I don't know, something like that. And that was you don't forget that. That was cool.
Yeah, I remember saying to him, "You're the first person that we've signed an autograph for.
Yeah.
This is really cool. So that was the first time that, like we were just saying, the first time we started to get to put faces to names and like really see that the content we make, even though it's kind of lighthearted and goofy and, you know, I still think, wow, it's ridiculous we made a career out of this at times, that it resonates with people and it affects people in a really positive way. And that was like
100%.
That's what every creator and artist wants. And so we got to get a good amount of that at PAX East 2016. We weren't, how many subs were we at? We were at like 400,000 or something.
Maybe.
I don't think we hadn't hit 1 million yet.
No, definitely not. Because we had The Office when we hit 1 million.
Yeah. It was also, that was just a great time. Like that was our first year into like doing it full time. Yeah. And it was just such, with Overwatch and Doom and it was just
like, these are our people, you know, like the fans and the industry alike, you know, and it was our first time getting out there because we had met, I don't think we met anyone.
We had met, we hadn't met the Rocket Boys.
We had kind of gamed with people, but that was like the first time getting out and amongst creators, you know, let alone fans, let alone industry people. Yeah. And that was a game changer for us. It was such a big deal. You know, Cam from Cam Steady.
Yeah, Cam Steady, formerly Video Game Rap Battles at the time.
Yeah, he kind of took us in a weird way, which was funny for the age disparity at the time. But he was like, he'd kind of been in these things, you know, going to conventions and stuff.
And it's also his personality, even though he's grown a lot as a person, which is just so cool to see him evolve as an artist and stuff. He's always been, we're both pretty timid, especially compared to Cam. Cam is just so outgoing and he just has such stage presence. So I know what you mean. I felt that way too. Yeah. I felt like Cam was like taking us under his wing, like, hey, welcome to the Polaris booth. And I remember, dude, like, when I performed at that, because that was the first time I performed JT stuff live. As you guys know, I've probably talked about, I did theater in high school and stuff. That was the first time I did like nerdcore live, and it was so nerve-wracking, even though it was just this little booth thing, and people were just walking by. It wasn't like an official performance. It was like one of those things where we're performing in the middle of the convention floor, and people could stop and watch if they wanted. But I remember just having... I was terrified up there performing, but I got confidence from you were recording me. So I was like, okay, I got Pat fans with me. You were recording me.
So nervous doing that.
I remember I think you were nervous for me, which like touched my heart so much. Yeah. I think you were
I was also nervous because like, okay, like walking into someone in the hallway, recognizing that's one thing, but now it's like, I don't know if you give me a shout or something. I don't know, but it's like people know who I am now.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. It was like, no one was looking at me, but I was like, oh my God, all eyes are on me. I don't know. It was just
no,
stupid,
dude. I remember you saying that, and I took it as you were nervous for me because you felt like you were on the stage with me, which was really nice. And Cam was giving me so much good energy, like he was ad-libbing for me. It was just a great experience. So yeah, like Cam definitely like made us feel good about having that first like live performance, and he was just fun to be around in general.
We could do a whole podcast on this event in itself.
Yeah,
because so much happened. I think we did with our older podcast, Gamefinity.
Yeah, we definitely
kind of broke down the whole event.
Yeah,
but there's so much. I mean, there was just the industry parties that we went to. Like, we jam packed it. Like, we almost had an itinerary. We were going everywhere, seeing everything. We had like goals of meeting people and doing this and that.
Yeah.
And this was like, when we first opened up the JT bank account, started like doing payroll and all these different things. So like we had. Like only a set amount of funds, and so we got this hotel. Like it was essentially a hostel.
It was like a hostel, and dude, even though that was probably the worst room we've ever stayed in, I have such cherished memories of that little. It was like a college dorm.
Yeah, it was a dorm room to a T.
There was a magic to that. Like I remember the business bank account. And like looking in it, and it had compared to now, it was like minimal because it was like the beginning of our full time. But still at the time thinking, this is a lot of money. And like it's like knowing it's not a lot of money for a business, but thinking this is cool that like we're on a business trip. Like I'm on a trip. This is me and my best friend's business. It was so surreal. So I have so many fond memories of that shitty little dorm room. Even the days I was still drinking at the time and I was having my infamous hangovers. Even those hangovers were like, because you remember one day I was out of commish for a while.
Yeah.
God, I don't miss that. But there was still like so many fond memories of that. Like. Just it was such a fun weekend,
and that's when Snapchat was blowing up. So I have like I got all our Snapchat stories compiled, And I think it's on this channel somewhere. I don't know. See if you can find it. But so some of the things we're sharing, you can kind of go see visual aid to or visual whatever to. But we went to an industry party.
Yes, we got
I think one of the first nights it was sponsored by Gearbox. It was a Gearbox party at some bar called the Candy Bar or Candy
Battleborn.
Shop.
Battleborn was getting hype at the time.
So that was like their big party was for Battleborn, and
little did we know what Overwatch was going to do to that game.
We got one of Christian's childhood friends, and then one of my work friends, and it was just like the weirdest combination of people going to a club.
Yep. Going to a club for a gamer launch party. It was just like, whoa, this happens? It was so weird. Like, nerds party? Like, it was, it was awesome.
Demo stations. They had a DJ.
You got to meet a famous
I met a games
Ryan
journalist,
something?
Ryan McCaffrey.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was, but you were you were like shitting your pants.
Yeah,
you were so excited.
I used to be like a huge Xbox magazine subscriber, and I would have the demo discs. I would read those magazines back to front, and I would attribute my knowledge of the games industry and like games, I guess, as like from that was like a bedrock moment. And Ryan McCaffrey is one of the big writers in that, so I met him and got to talk to him and exchange some words, and he was super friendly.
Him too. It was really
I think
nice.
so. Yeah.
Remember you made out? No, just.
I had a super cool Star Wars shirt, like of the battle over Yavin or. Just the Death Star battle from the first movie.
Yeah.
And I got a bunch of compliments on that.
You did. That shirt just screamed Star Wars.
Yeah. And then just very feeling the energy, drunk. I was like, I got my friends here and whatever, like shots of Grey Goose, which is the stupidest fucking thing you can do.
Dude,
and it was like $100 for 4 shots, and I don't know what I was thinking.
Dude, I remember
never gonna do that again.
I stopped. Like the young budding alcoholic that I remember specifically thinking, because I always drank pretty heavily even before drinking became a problem. And I remember you kept buying shots, and I was just, if the alcoholic has to stop, I was like, dude, no, I can't take any more. I think the next day was the day I had the brutal hangover.
Oh yeah, I can go pretty hard.
But
and it's like a weird running out of time kind of sense of urgency for me for not having a social life in high school. It's like I always felt like I had to make up for it.
Well, there was a big vibe of that with all the because all these dorky people just going hard. It really did have this air of hey, we're kind of, because now as we all know, being a nerd is so antiquated. That's such an outdated concept. But there was still this vibe of we're going hard.
Yeah.
And I threw a girl across the dance floor.
There's footage of that.
Yep. I threw a girl.
First you ripped your shirt off.
I ripped my shirt open.
It's just Christian on a dance floor in a dance circle.
A lot of alcohol involved, and as a guy who's pretty timid and pretty shy, having some alcohol at the time, I was working out very hard. It was probably the best physique I've ever had. I was extremely tan, in very good shape. And the alcohol got to my head. I was like, let's show it off. And I ripped my shirt open on the dance floor when there was this little dance circle. And in my head, I like to think everybody was cheering me on, but it was certainly pretty cringy. But
I don't know. I haven't watched in a minute, but I'm sure you can hear people cheering. I mean, it's it's an escalation thing. So I think no matter what, even if people are cringing, they're also about it.
Yeah,
it
was
moment.
The heat of the moment. That kind of stuff happens. I didn't really go clubbing in college, so it was the first and last time I got a real clubbing kind of.
You just go hard and then it's done.
And then it's done. Yeah, that was my clubbing career. And so I grabbed this girl who was excited and just kind of didn't do anything crazy. Just we were kind of spinning some Mamma Mia Titanic shit, and I didn't mean to, but my hands are really clammy, and we were spinning.
You pulled her into you.
I pulled her into me, and I think
you sidestepped and pulled her into you.
Pulled her into me because I thought I was going to spin her, I think, and then she went flying, and I instantly went from party animal to oh my God, are you okay? And I think she was laughing. She didn't actually get hurt, but I remember when the footage looked pretty bad, but the way it felt was even worse. This girl, I hurdled her. Again, I was working out at the time. Your boy was pretty strong and just fucking flung this girl, and I felt so bad. There was no malice in my heart. We were just having fun. She was laughing, so it was all good. But I love telling that story, just opening it with, I threw a girl across the dance floor. That was the end of my partying days.
Yeah.
That was where I was like, hey, no more clubbing for me. We're good.
Yeah.
But it was a super fun night. Again, I'd like to think I was the life of the party. It was probably just that cringy dude who ripped his shirt open, but it happens, you know?
But it was a fun party, fun night. Despite, I mean, I think just because of all that, and the stories from that.
Yeah.
And
it was also the whole thing being invited, because we were invited to that specific launch party thing, weren't we?
That's separate. That was just a party hosted by Gearbox.
But we had to be invited to that too, didn't we?
You had to RSVP ahead of time. Yeah,
because it wasn't like an open thing. Because
and then which we'll get to the launch. So like PAX East 2016 is just, there's so much stuff. It's so fun, and it's fun to just retell.
Yeah.
But yeah, even side tangent is it's so important to go to these things or find ways to interact with the community of creators or your fans. There's channels out there that don't, and it's like you gotta get out there, you know, because it's not even for the kind of networking gain, which is huge and important and fulfilling, because you do create really good bonds and friendships from that, but also for the what you were touching on earlier, just like, oh, these are people, these are the people. It's like it grounds you, it gives you the why. Like even in your most lost, if you have established that and you've gone and met people, you can always go back to that why and understand this is what it's about, you know. And there's people out there, and one person, I'm talking to a person, you know, like if you got a YouTube video and it had one view, that's pretty sad and shitty, you know, as anyone that does this for a living. Yeah. But that's still one person, you know, and it's so easy to lose track of that when the numbers get big and stuff. And so it's good to do that. And if there's any creator or budding creator, listen to this, like, go to these things. It's so important. Yeah. Even if you don't meet a fan or get recognized, you're still amongst it, you know, and I think that's huge. And it was such a big deal to us as we talk about it more. But I don't know, I just want to put that out there. No, that's so true. I still have to remind myself because now we've reached a point where we can easily get jaded with the number of views we get, because we've had not so many, but a good amount of like really viral projects, that it's easy to have something come out that gets like 80,000 views in a couple days, like the Overwatch rap. And I think it's performing well, but I expected it to perform a little bit better. So, especially because when I first watched the finished product of that video, just getting all that nostalgia from 2016, I teared up when I watched that video. The people who watched it enjoy it. Yeah. And the people who put aside their Overwatch prejudice or for the wrong reasons or the right reasons, because I know Blizzard's controversial, but those people that put that aside and did watch it, like, I did like it. Yeah. And it's like, what? I don't know. I think I touched this on a few episodes ago. It's like, if you like JT stuff, take 3 minutes out of your day and see what the new, like, or it could be Fable, or like, I don't know, like there's cherry picking of the topic material, but it's like, if you like the artist all the way through, whoever it is, you know, listen to their music. Yeah, exactly. But what I was going to say is just like, about the views thing is like, sure, I expected the Overwatch rap to get like a little bit more, especially with Overwatch 2 coming out. It's doing good. We've just been spoiled with the last few. Exactly. That's what I had this moment of like, oh, I expected it to be at like 100,000 by now, and it's at 80,000, and like just readjusting my perspective. That's 80,000 views, Christian. That's 80,000 people in like what, 3 days? That like, it's easy to get lost and caught up in that, and so we're recording this October 11th. Yeah. Or whatever context. But it's, oh man, it's, just so many of those moments to like readjust your perspective and just being grateful for what we have. And meeting those fans in person is a way to do it. Yeah. But in terms of the stuff on the floor, the games we saw. Yeah. Actually, another big thing not big, but like we met the community manager of World of Tanks. I don't know if we had done the World of Tanks rap yet. I remember we had already done it. Yep. And he was like super stoked about the song, which was really cool. Yeah, I was going to say, let's talk about interacting with the game developers and like the community. That was a huge part of PAX East 2016. That was fun. Getting to actually not just meet a few fans, but like interact with the people who are making the games and like talk. Yeah. Like it was kind of tough for us to, because at the time, we didn't have 1 million subs yet, but a few 100,000, like to the point, it was our full-time job. It was taken seriously. So it was a little tough. You took the lead on it, which I'm so thankful for, because it was so tough to do, but like kind of be assertive in like, because content creators usually have like a special badge or get to skip the line because they're content creators when it comes to we came in as games. We just got the normal pass. Yeah. And so it was an uphill battle for us to essentially skip lines, you know? And it's I have no guilt in that, because we worked 6 years to get that privilege, essentially, you know, to have that. And like, we're getting in there and we're getting our hands on, and we are going to do something, you know, Doom, World of Tanks, Overwatch. Like we are going to make things amongst it. So it's like, I mean, it's a consumer facing show, but it is still a trade show. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, but with that said, it was an uphill battle to skip some lines and get in and play the game. And one tough one was Lawbreakers. and we waited in 3 hours. We just bit the bullet and waited 3 hours to play that game.
Yeah.
But we got no love, and it wasn't because they weren't doing it. They were letting everyone in and like their friends, and like we recognized the creators, and like we saw the connections. But we still made a song for that, and the Lawbreakers guys loved it. So it's like, hey,
see, we wanted to.
We were trying,
but
and we still did it. But
dude, I got to give you so much props for like you were the assertive one, and really like, you know, even though you've always been super shy and timid, you were really good at like being like, hey, we have this channel. Like I would not have been able to do that. I'm way too just like, and you know, you took the reins on that. And in retrospect, I've talked to you about this. I wish I had been more like of the mindset that like, hey, this isn't cocky. This isn't like we're walking the line of humble versus like knowing our worth, you know, knowing our worth. And that was such an important step to be like, well, hey, look, we're going to make a song for this game. We want to talk to you about it a bit. And like not just walking in there like, let us skip the line, like actually developing a relationship, because it is a trade show too. It's not just for fun. So that was an important like learning process, you know. I
mean, I'm a very anxious and timid person, and I did it, you know, and it's such a big thing of overcoming anxiety is sometimes you just gotta go, just do it. You know, worst case that happens, you know,
they just say
it's
no.
over a minute later, you know, and you can cringe at yourself or just be happy you tried it. Either way, you gain a little XP, you know. But also we did get to skip the line at Overwatch.
That was cool. And that's the one we wanted to skip because that line was probably 4 hours long.
Overwatch was just buzzing. I mean, it became huge, you know. Obviously this is before it came out. And we were in line for like 30 minutes, and then the line kind of snaked by some community managers. And I was like, hey, you know, we just made the Overwatch song. It kind of went viral. Also very timid and like bad syntax because I'm super nervous and have a hard time forming sentences. Maybe because they had a special creator section alone, you know, so it's not even like we're skipping a line. And I go, yeah, sure. What song is it? And I was like, and I tone deaf said, oh, it's the one where the Overwatch is coming. You best start running. And she's like, oh, I think I know that one. I don't know if she just pitied me. The way she reacted, and yes, it was a very, very tone-deaf rendition of it, which is why... I don't want to sing to someone I don't know, and I'm already nervous.
The Overwatch. And again, you were the one who was being, actually putting yourself out there, so I can't make fun of you too much. But yeah, it was a pretty bad rendition, but the way she reacted, I think she did know it. I think she was like, oh yeah, that one.
Well, because I think they use it in the launcher, so
they
I think
did. Yeah, because
it'd be pretty hard to avoid it.
They put it in the launcher, which was really cool. But then we got so many comments from people who didn't want to see it, who were like, "I saw this in the launcher. What the fuck? This is cringe." Like I remember, that kind of hurt. But it was still cool that
to be in the Blizzard launcher was sick. And they're like, "Hey, we want to do this. Are you okay with it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, that's fucking cool." Yeah. And they said, "Okay, fine. You just got to turn off monetization." So I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
So that was a weird ripple. So if you ever see that, I guess that's a little behind the scenes of the only really thing it takes to put your video there for a week.
Yeah.
But that was sick.
That was sick. So yeah, I think that she did recognize the song. I think she was like, oh, I recognize that one. She could have been pitying, but I remember getting the vibe and thinking that's an option that she's just being nice. But the reaction was like, oh, that song. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool because at the time that probably was a pretty big one of the like Overwatch content videos, you know, Overwatch rap, and it was very catchy and stuff. So, but yeah, we got to skip the line. I remember the kids in line around us were a little perplexed, probably a little upset, a little like, what the fuck? But which I don't really blame them. But like, hey,
yeah, again, worked 6 years for it in a sense.
Yep. So. And look at us now, all the Overwatch projects we ended up making. And
I mean, it's such a small thing for, I don't know, that moment.
Yeah.
You know, the product that came from it. But yeah, I remember playing Overwatch and I was like, this isn't that good. We were playing on console, by the way.
Really?
You had to play with controllers. And then I switched to Soldier and I was like, okay, I'm having a little bit more fun. Because you would just go in and die, and then you would have the long, because we played defense on the game we played, and you have the long journey to the fight, to the payload. I think it was on Dorado, I think it's just Dorado. And then so I started playing Soldier, so I was able to sprint in and stuff and kind of heal myself. But I mean, it's what you expect with the.
Give us your Soldier.
No, you can't put me on the spot.
I'm not a young man anymore.
Anyways, it was like all this hype about it and all this stuff, and then I got to play. I was like, oh no. But lo and behold, And that was also just that for me was one of the big shining examples of everything's just better on PC.
Yeah.
Like,
the gameplay just moves so much faster and like connects with your brain more.
Yeah.
Whereas on controller, you're like, you know what you want to do, but there's that slight delay. Whereas on a PC, you're instantly doing it. It's
But then Doom, I don't have too many memories of the Doom. I mean, I remember Doom being there and playing. I think it was cool, but I don't remember much about it. We did talk to someone.
We talked to some community manager and
the Bethesda guy.
Yeah, and nothing really came of it, but it was still a good experience of like talking to them, and he told us stuff about the game.
Yeah.
And I remember, it was just a good interaction. I had never played the original Doom, but I just remember, and now that like Doom is a pretty, like, even though we've only done maybe 4 or 5 Doom raps, I feel like a lot of people know JT music associated with Doom. I remember at the time I had never played the original Doom, but just having this love for the look and the Reaper or the Revenant that they had there that we took
got
a picture with, the skeleton. And
that's on Instagram.
I just remember that fascination I had with it, like, oh, I'm going to make a banger for this game. And then, looking back in retrospect, it was like, just such a fond memory of that experience at that booth.
Then in terms of the floor, I don't remember too much else. We did we did end up playing Lawbreakers, and it was fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And the game design around the game types was so tight in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then when we played it, when we got I think there was a beta or an alpha or something. Then we played the game when you could play it. Like, it was rarely like a team just like wrecking someone. It was always competitive, and there was like so many good gamification elements of like back and forth and like a tug of war. And gamesmanship. It was such a good game.
Yeah,
it's definitely a shame that it died.
Yeah.
And it's also a Raleigh company, which is kind of cool, a point of pride. And then they made something good.
We made a song, that chorus, "Mama, I'm so sorry." I'll toot my own horn all day about that chorus. I love that song.
Yeah.
That game was so cool. The gravity stuff was incredible.
The game was great.
Yeah, it's just one of those sad things that it just didn't work. It didn't take off.
I think it was Overwatch was probably a big part.
Yep.
Battleborn was coming out, so we did play a little Battleborn on the floor. We got to play it at the party the night before.
Mm-hmm.
But we were also, the Battleborn song had come out a week or 2 before, and we got an email from the community manager, Joe King. I don't know.
Shout out Joe King.
It's more his name's funny because he's like makes his online alias is joking. Anyways, that's why I shared it. And like, hey, we want to play your song at our Battleborn main stage panel. I'm like, holy shit. Okay, sure. And then we got to so they played it in front of the ballroom, I think of like 5,000 people. We got to sit in the front.
That, like, we've started this podcast talking about like meeting fans, getting to see your content resonating with people. That, I think, was the peak of that weekend.
Yeah.
That was unreal, and it was shortly followed by some cringy moments by yours truly, which are just funny in retrospect.
My heart was racing so much when they played it. And then,
dude, I was shitting my pants because we can hear the audience around us. Like, there are people around us, and they don't know necessarily that like that's our stuff. So like, I was prepared for people to be like, "Oh, this sucks. This is cringy. This is so weird." I think they mentioned that we were there.
Yeah.
I think they were like, "Oh, we've got the guy," or maybe they said it after.
I don't remember if it was before or after. The joke was like something about like, "Oh yeah, people taking your stuff and making music out of it. They're so annoying." And then someone's like, "Well, I think they're here." And it was meant to be like an awkward, funny confrontation.
That's right, because Randy Pitchford was making fun of like content creation in general. Like, oh, they can take your game and make something out of it, and they're stealing our IP. How do they do this? But like, it was meant to be very tongue in cheek. Like, clearly they were grateful that we had made the song and video, but then they were like, "Yeah, that's how they introduced us. Oh, these guys are here."
And we came on stage and
shitting our pants.
And Game Over Greg from IGN / Kinda Funny Games was up there. And I think he was kind of emceeing you.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know who Game Over Greg was at the time, but you told me, like, you've always kept me in touch with the gaming industry. You were like, he is a big deal. Like, he's super famous. So I was shitting my pants. I mean, we were on this stage in front of...
Got to meet Randy Pitchford, who was like, of the big league game designers. He's like, there's like him and Cliffy B, and it's almost like a dying breed, because like Todd Howard,
Yeah.
Even Jeff Kaplan's probably the most recent example of that kind of guy, where Randy Pitchford is/was. So it was cool to meet him too. It was like in front of fucking 5,000 people too. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure the footage is still out there.
Yeah.
Because I
what'd you say?
Had a terrible moment. What did I say? So
you had 2 moments back to back.
I had 2 moments back to back, and it happens. I was I was flustered. I was terrified. Even though I was trying to come off as goofy, I was fucking terrified. I didn't know what I was saying. And I think somebody said, "Do you have anything to say?" And I was like, "Oh, if there's, I can't even say it. If there's any single Harley Quinn cosplayers in the audience, hit me up." So cringy, but it's okay.
Greg said something. I don't know what he said.
It wasn't Greg. It was one of the developer guys with he had glasses on, and I think he had blonde hair, and he was the writer, and he said something about the character Wrath, and I thought he said, Rap. "Yeah, I want to be in a rap." I thought he said that, and so I was like, "Oh, hey man, if you ever want to be in a rap, hit us up." And that is not what he said. So then they probably just thought we were trying to stay on stage and
clout chase or like take advantage of that stage time.
And that is so not like I was talking about earlier. I have a hard time being that bravado, so it was the opposite of the image I wanted to give.
And then they bring out a stack of gear for us.
Oh yeah,
of like, I don't know, just all sorts of cool swag. Like it was a bunch of cool
clap
stuff.
Traps. We got our clap traps.
We got clap traps. We got big loot boxes signed by the dev team and all this stuff. But it's like this big of shit, and we're like fumbling it. All this is happening
as I'm saying all this cringy shit, talking about Harley Quinn cosplayers. Hey, you guys want to be in a rap? So it got a little fumbly, but in retrospect, it was a funny moment.
What a moment!
Yeah, and endearing, and like really the peak of that, and what washes away the cringe for me is sitting in the audience. First of all, hearing the mix of the song didn't sound that bad on the big speakers. That's what I was worried about. Because even the mix of that song, I've gone back and listened to it, and I could definitely do things. And I definitely want to touch up and remaster that beat, which is a discussion for another time. But I remember thinking it sounds pretty good on these speakers, and more importantly, hearing people in the audience laughing at the jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Like there was a big round of applause for like there was an Overwatch diss in the song, and people clapped at that. So hearing the reaction, again, the biggest thing you want as a creator is for your work to resonate with people. So hearing that was like, I almost cried. I was like, it was overwhelming, which is why I was such a mess when we went on stage. But it was an incredible moment, super humbling, like, holy shit. Yeah. So.
Same ballroom, different panel was a Rooster Teeth one with like Jeff and
another very
Jack
relevant.
And maybe someone else. But like at that moment, they were Let's Play family was talking. And he was talking about expanding this Let's Play family of being like a group of gaming brands and channels that like are the core of what you think of when you think of gaming content creation.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that sounds sick. I'm in. And then lo and behold, a year and a half later of a process, we joined Rooster Teeth, and that was like that moment. So that like again, I didn't even think about that until now.
Yeah.
It's like that was PAX East 2016 was fucking huge.
Yeah.
On so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
But then we did get to meet Markiplier at a Polaris party.
Super briefly.
Yeah. No, actually met him backstage in a green room. He was at the party, but we didn't want to bother him.
Yeah, because he was getting swarmed all the time.
Yeah.
But we knew
that was
like
peak. I mean, he's bigger now than he was then, but that was a very like.
There weren't as many people doing it.
Yeah.
So he was one. It was like the trifecta of him, PewDiePie, and Jacksepticeye.
Being at the top.
Markiplier was always red themed at the time. PewDiePie was always blue themed, and Jacksepticeye was green. So you had this trifecta. They were like the.
Three Musketeers?
The Three Musketeers. I've been watching a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff, so I'm like the Silmarils. They were the three Silmarils. Yeah, but anyways, we're going to stay away from Lord of the Rings stuff right now. Yeah, we got to meet him. We knew it was going to be brief. We just shamelessly were like, hey, what's up, man? Got a little picture.
And he said, I'm going to make a song.
I told him, yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's cool. Not a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, cool. That was kind of like a validation. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And I think he did acknowledge it at some point. Like the views fucking went through the roof, like a huge spike all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I never saw what it was or where it was.
Yeah.
But
I was super self-conscious after the Markiplier rap came out because I didn't want him to think we were just clout chasing or just trying to make money off his name, because we really weren't, even if it seemed that way. But yeah, they're definite. I remember fans saying he did acknowledge, but because he never commented on it or reacted to it in a video. Not that we expected that, but like we were hoping for it. We were hoping he would, but
that's why we didn't do a Jacksepticeye one, because he wasn't a fan of Jacksepticeye.
Yeah, no, at the time, again, like, I stand by, even though, looking back on that song, a little bit, it seemed clout chasey or cringy or whatever. At the time, stand by it. Like, I was a huge fan of Markiplier. I think, obviously, the song was very catchy. But I know that the Markiplier fans really appreciated it, too, so. Yeah. But it was cool getting to meet him. We also got to meet Jacksepticeye.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was at the time, because I didn't pay attention to YouTubers at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I knew the Rooster Teeth kind of family, like Funhouse and all them, but I didn't know, like, YouTubers, like, what you think of a YouTuber at that time. So we're like, because Cam's like, hey, you want to meet Jack? I was like, Jacksepticeye to us? And we're like, I mean, I don't know, sure.
Yeah.
But he's pretty tall and actually extremely friendly.
Yeah.
But we just met briefly that one and just kind of said hey and took a picture. But
yeah, I think we had a better interaction with Jack than we did with Mark. But I think that's because Mark had just gotten off the he had just gotten off the floor from, like, it was at the convention center.
No, it was at the Polaris party.
We were in the green room when we met Markiplier.
Yeah, we met Markiplier in the green room.
Yeah, so I think Mark was a little more drained from having been on the floor, whereas we met Jack at the, like, after
at a private party.
So, like, a private event, so it was a little bit, we got to actually talk to him a little bit more, whereas, yeah, I just got the vibe that Mark was, like, not that he was, like, short with us, but he had been fucking exhausted. As we've learned years later, as when we go to these events and interact with more fans, you want to give everyone energy, but it does start to get taxing. So yeah, we got to have a nice little conversation with Jack. I wasn't that familiar with him. I knew who he was, but didn't really know his content. I think I just was like, oh, I love your accent, because it was beautiful in person. Yeah. But yeah, that was fun. Who else did we meet at that party? I feel like we met
Nate,
some.
Not at that party, but we met Nate Wants to Battle.
Nate Wants to Battle.
Who, I think pretended not to know who we were.
It was that was kind of weird.
We had tweets back and forth about it never came to fruition, but there was, like, some communication.
Oh yeah.
And then when he's like, Cam brought us and introduced us to him, and we're like, oh, we're JT Machinima. He's like, oh, I think I know you guys. And it's like, you know us. we've interacted, but, like, I was still, like, so, like, over what's the word, intimidated by it. So I was like, yeah, that's us. I don't know. It was a very weird. It was a weird interaction.
At the time, I didn't think anything of it, but in retrospect, because we had tweets with him or something, because he made some. I love his music. He's got an incredible voice. He rips that fucking axe up. His productions are fucking incredible. So I remember having seen that he was doing FNAF songs at the time. We had some Twitter interaction with him. So that was weird. It was like, I thought you knew us. Maybe you don't. It was, I don't know. It was kind of weird. But hey.
Oh, and then we went to a Funhouse meet and greet and met all the Funhouse team at the time.
Yep.
Got pictures with everyone. Mm-hmm. And that was awesome. That was like Funhouse at the top. And it was fun to meet them. And
that was before we were friends with him.
Yeah.
A few years later, we'd be, but like now, well, it's been a while since we've seen like the OG Funhouse team, but there was a point where we would go to like RTX and stuff, and they would recognize us. They'd be like, oh, it's the JT guys.
Yeah,
so
and
that
like
was so cool for YouTubers that you're like a huge fan of to know who you
get like
are.
a hug greeting, and like it's like old pals. Which is more them just being very friendly than us having grown a relationship. But like there was like some like passing, like I know your face, we like small talk and stuff.
Yeah. No, for sure.
There's like one of the last RTXs, I was like drunkenly leading Lawrence around, introducing him to my friends, and he was just following me, entertaining me. I think he was pretty drunk too.
Yeah.
But it's just funny.
Yeah, Lawrence can put him down.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, and you and Lawrence are destined to be best friends. I don't know if the stars will ever align that you can be.
We can get along, I think.
You and Lawrence would be best friends. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then probably the last thing we'll cover on PAX East 2016, and we've only, I don't know, nothing will be as deep as this.
But I mean, PAX East 2016 is the biggest one.
Yeah, it was huge.
If we're gonna talk about conventions we've been to, PAX East 2016 had. Yeah.
But at the Funhouse intro, we were trying to meet everyone, and the last one we didn't meet was Bruce.
Oh yeah.
And so we were waiting outside the bathroom.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird in hindsight.
Weird thing to do, wait outside the bathroom for somebody. But
you were sitting like in a sexy position. You unbuttoned your shirt in like a.
I just had to take
my shirt off. In a weird what's it called?
In a weird laying position.
Thing.
Yeah.
You're like in like a weird.
I'd like to think I had alcohol in my system, but I don't think I did. I think I was stone cold sober, and I was 26 years old. And is that cringy? It's okay, but I had my shirt open. It was both.
He caught his eye, and then we talked, and we also told him like, oh, we used to be with Machinima and all that stuff. And he's like, oh, like it was fine.
It was it was just him walking out of the bathroom and seeing me laying there, and I think I told him I want to draw you like one of my French girls. It's okay, we'll move him past it. But it was, we did get to interact with those guys, and it was the preemptive moments to a beautiful friendship that we would have for them for a few years before Funhouse kind of went their separate ways and dissipated. But
yeah, that was, I mean, PAX East, I'm sure there's some things we forgot, but that's the huge stuff. And we went to some subsequent PAXs. We would see Cam. Cam was kind of always a staple there. Mm-hmm. We would bring your brother.
Kevin Crust.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. Matt Forio, Kevin Crust.
Your brother would come. Our buddy Raleigh would come with us at the subsequent ones, and it became kind of more of a fun family event. Yeah. There's nothing that truly sticks out in the subsequent ones of PAX East, that is.
Except for when we got to meet the BioShock dude.
Yes. Cool. So we met because they're making Perception at the time. The girl the game where you're the blind girl and you use echolocation. Mm-hmm. So we met the guy who does, like, one of the lead designers on Infinite, but also did a lot of levels in the first BioShock.
Specifically, he was one of the top lead level designers in Fort Frolic, which, if you played BioShock, that's like the greatest level. That's Sander Cohen's level. He was one of the lead designers on it, and we had just released the BioShock rap, and we told him about it, and then we saw him later in the convention, like the next day or something, and I remember his face was lit up when he saw us again. He was like, I watched the BioShock rap. That was incredible.
And they're like, yeah, we sent it to Ken, like with that first name, like, they know him, and it was like, oh, there's like that degree of separation. It's right there. I don't know what I'm doing.
Dude,
I'm
casting, I know it sounds like we're just flexing on you guys right now, which we are, but like I hope the point here is that the gratitude that we have for like these two guys who are just making this content, which, that was wild, especially because BioShock is like my favorite game, one of your favorite games. It was, oh my God, it was so very incredible. Cool. And then we ended up having this cool relationship with that guy and ended up having a cool collaboration, making a song for that game, Perception.
Yeah, so we'd have some calls with them, and they helped us with like lore and whatnot. Yep. And it was him and his wife who were the team that did it together.
So it was a very intimate project. That even though Perception, that song wasn't our most viral hit ever, it was like that's one of my favorite. Like just the process of that song.
It was also a song you recorded with Andrea in person, which is another cool ripple. Yep. But then also another fun thing is there was a Machinima party that we got shut down from going to.
Machinima.
And I was like drunk, and I was like, they fucking owe us $2,000. Let us in this party. Super fucking entitled and dumb. But it was more just rage of like the ethics of it, like
dude, we had been
like fuck them. I don't know.
We had been snubbed by Machinima. I mean, Machinima, as we all know, ran into.
They owe us money, and they would shoot down our projects, and
they told us
just not be helpful. I don't know. It was stupid.
They told us people don't want original video game music.
And look at where we are now, and not mean us. I mean the fucking nerdcore scene. So like, idiots.
I remember we got a suggestion. This is how out of touch Machinima was, and should symbolize why we were extra mad that we didn't get let into the Machinima party. They told us that we should do Justin Bieber parodies or Boys to Men we should do parodies, specifically Justin Bieber and Boys to Men. Like, they weren't focusing on what was actually doing well or what the audience wanted, especially from Nerdcore, which is now blown up. They just wanted to see trendy stuff. Do a Justin Bieber parody. Also, how fucking a white guy doing a Boys to Men parody, that's actually kind of brilliant a little bit because it's so off mark. But yeah, so we had already had this strained relationship with Machinima. They still owe us money. And so, getting turned away from that party was a little bit like, whatever.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah.
And then another last, I think, PAX noteworthy thing was the Kind of Funny party that we went to with your brother. Mm-hmm. Was really fun. They have a really good. I think that was a big sense of like, this is what community is. Mm-hmm. This is what it is like being with your fans and doing stuff with them. And they had a few parties, and it's like, dang, this is sick. Yeah. And but like we was like us, Game Attack, and maybe one or two Achievement Hunter guys, and Kind of Funny. And we were just doing like kind of an Olympics of stupid Wii games and like other things in this weird place. I don't even know where the hell we were. Yeah. It's like a weird children's museum cafeteria place.
It was, yeah, that's right.
But it had a big whiteboard, and there was this one guy there keeping score of all the different channels of like a tally mark. I don't know what people were keeping score of.
It was some gaming competition with Nintendos, and yeah.
And his brother would just go up to the board and keep adding tallies and walking away when the gamekeeper guy was there. He's like, but I don't know what is up with him. He's like, oh my God, they're doing so good. I was like, aren't you running the scoreboard? And it was so weird.
To make it even funnier, my brother is just like this. He's not a jock, but because my brother is a gamer too, but he just didn't. We invited him to come to PAX with us. He's not quite in the Rooster Teeth kind of funny fan scene level of like gamer nerddom type thing. What I'm trying to say is my brother was like the jock there, and he's just fucking around with the scoreboard and all these, what's going on? And my brother's just like, doesn't give a shit, which was so funny to have. And like, I was getting my ass kicked in all these games, but my brother's on the outskirts, like, Ames Bros rule. Just like, who is this guy? He doesn't even go here. Look at this fucking asshole.
Oh, and speaking of that, so that was like our first PAX. One of the PAX is probably either 2017 or 18 was our first PAX with Rooster Teeth.
Yeah.
And we went to a Rooster Teeth dinner. And we were like, because his brother's meeting us, like, hey, we talked to Fareed, our kind of Rooster Teeth guy. Like, hey, is it okay if his brother comes? He's coming in. Like, oh, yeah, totally cool.
Yeah, because we didn't want to put out Rooster Teeth because we knew going to this dinner, Rooster Teeth was probably going to pay for the dinner.
Yeah.
And that was really sweet. So we didn't just want to like lump in our friends. We didn't, So my brother came. They didn't care. There were probably maybe one or two other like friends of friends there. And so we hadn't officially met Jack from Rooster Teeth, but Jack was there at the dinner and he was the one with the business card paying for the dinner, this really nice meal. And so
we also said he does voice work for Red versus Blue.
Yeah.
I don't know. So he paid.
We barely knew Jack because we had only been with Rooster Teeth
and barely introduced ourselves to him.
Yeah.
Just because we are who we are. We're timid.
So my brother, even though, I joke about him being this jock picking on the nerds at the party, my brother's a really cordial, friendly, wonderful person. And he goes up to Jack at the end of the dinner and introduces himself. Hey, I'm Christian's brother. Just want to thank you for dinner. And Jack was very polite because Jack is wonderful. It's like, oh, thanks, man, so much. But my brother, after the fact, we were like, you introduced you? We haven't met him yet. So my brother was like, I just introduced myself to this guy and said, thanks for dinner I'm Christian's brother. You don't even know Christian and John. And I just, like, thinking from Jack's perspective, I don't even know Christian and I paid for his brother too? Like, what the fuck? So it's just this funny, like, just moment of, it was so great. Good. But, it's so much fun bringing like our siblings and friends to these events, and they get to be a part of this world.
Yeah,
and
we have our little JT posse.
Yep, who are all listening to the podcast right now.
We had an autograph time at the Rooster Teeth booth. Like 2 people came up.
Yep, that was pretty sick.
So we sat there for an hour with no one coming up to sign with us. That was a fucking sick hit to our egos.
But we had a couple great interactions.
Yeah. They were great. 2 people, again, it's, one person it's a person.
Yeah. I remember one girl who we had seen at multiple conventions came up.
She kept coming up.
Yeah, she was a huge fan, and the Hanzo vs. Genji rap battle had just come out. And I had done like my best Japanese accent for Hanzo and Genji, which on paper, white guy trying to do Japanese accent in a video game rap battle might sound a little, but I think I did a pretty decent job. I didn't try to make it like campy or cartoony. I really tried to emulate the character voices. And that rap, I think, turned out pretty great. The whole project was cool. So it was cool to have this girl come up who I was of Japanese descent, told me that the accents I did were spot on. When I did their alt lines, she said it was pronounced really well. I want to say she said perfectly, but I don't think she said perfectly. I remember she said the accents were really well done, and that meant so much to me.
And she had us sign something, and she had all the Rooster Teeth signatures.
Yep.
And there was space, and she pointed. She's like, can you sign here? I was like, okay. And I saw Monty Ohm's signature right next to her. I was like, are you sure you want me to sign next to him? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay. And those who don't know, Monty Ohm unfortunately had passed away.
Yeah.
But he was like a big Rooster Teeth animator for like a lot of the action scenes. Like Halo, he did Haloid. I think that's what caught the attention. But he did like action scenes for Red versus Blue. And then I'm pretty sure he's the creator of Ruby.
Yeah.
And so that was like, if you insist, it feels weird.
Yeah.
But we signed her name next to Monty Ohm.
Mm-hmm.
His signature. Yeah. And then the other guy that came up thought he was Blaine from Rooster Teeth.
I think it was a girl. Because I think a girl came up and thought I was Blaine. I'm pretty sure it was a girl.
The guy's face.
No, there was a guy that came up with his like girlfriend or something, and he looked like he was super, like he was a young man. He must have been like upper 20s, very handsome with a beautiful girlfriend. And like, not that we don't have beautiful fans, but this guy looked like a movie star. And I don't really picture people who look like Henry Cavill, even though Henry Cavill is known to be a nerd. I don't picture people who look like fucking movie stars coming up and being like,
right. it was a girl that thought you were Blaine.
Yeah, girl thought, of course, because Blaine is the hottest guy on planet Earth. So I took that as a huge compliment. Shout out to the girl who thought I was Blaine. Yep, let's go. I'm Blaine Gibson. Just
and
kidding.
The hot guy, I think pity signed, like here, sign it. You guys seem sad.
No, because remember, I was like, sure? I said to him, I was like, because we had a couple,
one of those at least.
We had a couple people come up and thought we were someone else, not just the Blaine girl. But I said to him, I remember it was kind of rude. I was like, do you know who we are? Like, but I thought he had mistaken us. I wasn't trying to say, do you know who we are? I was like, oh, do you know who we are? And he was like, yeah, the JT guys. And I was like,
okay.
I was like,
that's
sorry.
Back.
I didn't think, I thought you were like, because I figured our fans were younger, and like, I remember it was an awkward interaction, but it was another moment of like, our fan demographic is all over the place. That's really cool. Like, I've had military guys come up to me and say they listen to my music when they're working out, which is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
I guess at the time, especially, just kind of assumed our fan base tended to be younger and, you know, gamers. So, but yeah, that was.
I think so. There is a little bit more than I thought, or maybe there were 2 different years. They used the same booth 2 years running.
Yeah.
So it's hard to remember, but there's more interactions coming back, and then maybe it was the second year we had a lot more. But anyways, during the time where there wasn't a lot, our kind of essentially account manager with Rooster Teeth, Fareed, we just got to know him for an hour.
Yeah.
Which was huge because awesome guy, and he's been a huge champion of us. The whole time we went with Rooster Teeth, and just like out of all the Rooster Teeth people, I call him a friend more than before anyone else. Maybe Jack next. Mm-hmm. Not that it's a fucking ranking, but just in terms of like who we've had exposure with.
We're so
that's
close
all I'm talking about.
And he's done so much for us and bent over backwards for us. He's incredible. I was so happy when Sugar Pine 7 was popping off and Fareed became a character in Sugar Pine 7. I love that because Fareed is like this incredible behind the scenes guy. So seeing him get a little attention and playing this fucking hilarious, weird character.
He was like a creepy car salesman or something.
And it was just like cool to see like, not only is this guy like, he's doing all this thankless work, not thankless, but work you don't see behind the scenes. He gets to be in front of the camera too. Fareed's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
But I just wanted to reiterate, it was great meeting everybody, but somebody thought I was Blaine Gibson. That is pretty awesome. If you don't know who Blaine Gibson is, go look him up. He's a slightly less better looking version of me, slightly less jacked, slightly less tall. Yeah, all those things.
Of course.
Yep.
In terms of, I think something might pop up. So I guess there's a little bit more in the other PAXs, but we haven't been to PAX in a while, and we will rectify that coming up. PAX East, that is, in Boston, because it's, up on our home turf.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can try and get there in 2023. But I've been to a PAX West, which I was more trying to just kind of make connections and stuff, and there's nothing too noteworthy there. I did get recognized by the Tiny Build staff as the neighbor, which was cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
But that's the biggest thing. Like, I love Seattle. I kind of, felt like it was just fucking cool. I love Seattle, but from what my weekend there, but it's too far. It's too far from family. Then PAX South.
PAX South.
Which is where we met Rocket Gaming.
First time we met those wild boys.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun.
Because we met them at RTX. Anyways, but at PAX South was maybe the second or third time we met them.
Yep.
And we were just like in line to play a game, and all of a sudden Russell just comes out screaming and grabs your shoulders and is using you to jump.
Yep.
And he's just getting like his crotch up by your head, just lunging off a Christian, screaming a song.
Screaming.
I gotta get you or something. That was like one of their core. I don't remember.
Gotta get you. He was screaming like one of his own songs,
jumping on you,
and he wasn't even singing a song that we had collaborated on. He was singing one of his own songs, which made it even funnier. And so Russell just, yeah.
And we talked about, I think in the last podcast, the panel thing, so I don't want to get too deep into that.
Yeah, the panel was funny.
But it was cool. Mega Ran was there and came out to our panel.
Yeah.
So that was neat. And I think that panel or the adoption of nerdcore as a term was really taken by the YouTube crowd.
Yeah.
Because that was the first time it really came on our radar.
Yeah.
We had heard about it, but like we didn't use it. But after that, we're like, I don't know.
This is the name that
let's just use it.
Best fits what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we might as well call ourselves Nerdcore.
And that was it was a fun panel. It was a pretty disjointed panel because they were trying to sell a product. We just were like, we knew that they were wrong in what they thought this was, so we just made a few slides on like YouTuber tips.
Yeah.
And then there was another guy there. I forget his name.
Oh,
but he worked with Operation Supply Drop, who's like a organization that kind of gets games and nerdy things sent to troops overseas so they can have some kind of form of entertainment. And he had his segment was on charity, or like how to, like, I think the behind the scenes of a charity. I don't know. It was like the most disjointed fucking panel ever.
It was all over the place.
It was still fun, and like hanging out with Russell's friends was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Mike and Eric. Yeah, I think it was just Mike and Eric that were there. And then,
dude, shout out to Russell's buddies. I know we have really supportive friends too, but it's really cool to see Russell's buddies were just so love those guys. Just
it's cool that, I don't know, it's like to meet groups of people from other friends. I don't know, like my brother's friends, my brother-in-law's friends, and then Russell's friends are like people I don't talk to outside of when I'm there with them.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to see them.
Yeah.
You know, like after whatever, and then seeing them again later. It's nice.
Yeah. Especially as you get older, like meeting friends of your friends, it's so easy to click with them, and it's like, well, this makes sense because I'm friends with them, and it's just so it always feels like we're just meeting up buddies that we've known for a long time. That's how it felt.
And I do talk to a couple of other Russell's friends through other shared interests and stuff. Yeah. But it's cool, like, to me, I don't know. Anyways, PAX South, I thought it was in January, but I thought Texas, San Antonio, it's like so close to the border of Mexico.
Hot. It's gonna be warm.
I packed tropical essentially, and no, it's not. It's cold.
That first morning,
it was 15 degrees.
It was 15. Yeah, it was something like that. I was freezing, and I was wearing jeans and like a long sleeve shirt and a sweatshirt, and I was freezing walking to the convention center. You had shorts and a t-shirt.
That was it.
So we're walking down the sidewalk, and people are just like, whoa, look at this guy. But you're just like,
I look like one of those tryhards, like, I'm from Maine, I can take it. Yeah. No, I was not trying to be like that. I was
icicles hanging off your beard.
Yeah.
We got to the convention center, and you still had to wear shorts the rest of the time.
Yeah, but I went right to the Rooster Teeth booth and bought a Funhouse thing.
Yep. That was hilarious. So just letting you guys know, Texas gets cold in the winter.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they get more of their weather from the north than they do from the south.
Yep.
So,
but that was fun. Got to see the Riverwalk.
The Riverwalk is beautiful. There was a journalist shadowing us.
Who got weird, crossed some boundaries. So, we had to ditch him.
Yep. So he was like trying to get. I thought he was on the cusp of this fucking sick inside scoop, and he was shadowing us. And if you know anything about Russell and Bendy from Rocket Gaming, they party, they go hard. They are the party in Nerdcore PartyCon, and so this guy was trying to drink to keep up with us.
No, he wasn't trying to. Russell was forcing him to.
I wanted to be delicate about that. But the guy was all in because he thought he had this scoop, so he was trying to keep up.
Yeah. I think he thought we were not to downplay what we did. Even at the time, having smaller channels in Nerdcore wasn't as big of a scene, like you said. Not to downplay what we were doing, but I think he thought we were a bigger deal than we actually were.
Which Russell sold the shit.
Russell's always been like, yeah, look at what we're doing. It makes it look fucking awesome. Yep. He's a great salesman. So you had this guy thinking he had the big scoop, following us around, started to get a little invasive, started to cross some boundaries and be annoying. But Russell and Vinny are trying to give this guy alcohol poisoning. And not actually. That wasn't their plan. They just thought it was funny to like...
To be fair, they also shove shots in everyone's face.
Yeah,
so
of course. So it wasn't like necessarily...
You're making this sound very evil.
No, it wasn't evil. It was just like, if you're going to... The vibe was, if you're going to hang with us, you got to hang with us. And we all are, at the time, me too, as you know, heavy drinker. So this guy was trying to keep up with us. You can tell he probably doesn't drink that often. Yeah. At one point, he's in the bathroom with his backpack on, slumped over on the phone, talking to his girlfriend or something.
Yeah, and the vibe was like she's mad at him.
Yeah,
but he was taking it in the face because he's like, I'm sticking it out for this scoop.
Yeah. And he hung, you remember he hung up on her.
Yeah.
He was in the middle of having this, you could tell, you can tell when someone's in a fight with their significant other. And he hung up on her to talk to like me or Russell because we came into the bathroom.
Yeah, it wasn't even like the conversation hit a point. He's like, oh, my scoop. And
my scoop, instantly. It's like, dude, you are going to be in the doghouse later.
Yeah.
I could barely hear that conversation in your scoop. But hey, he's going for the big scoop.
And we just kept having, it was like an amazing night with those guys and just going. And then we ended up at some dinner party thing. Yeah. And that was when it hit that came to a T where he's like, how much money you guys make? What are your numbers? What are your projections? Like, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to tell you that.
He was
pushing and pushing and pushing. I was like you know, we can live off of it, dude. We're full time up. That's all I'm going to give you. Like, stop. And he's like, no, how much money you make? And we're like, all right. And then Russell's buddy Mike came in and was like, dude, just fucking stop. They said no, get out.
Dude, it was awesome. And Mike is like this tall, jacked, super handsome dude.
He looks like Giga Chad.
He does. He looks like Giga Chad. I have such a crush on Mike. And he's also such a sweetheart. Like, I remember the first thing he said to me, he was like, dude, I fucking love fatalities. The rap is so sick, dude. You're like, and I was like, again, I was taken aback by this tall, fucking beautiful, jacked guy. Just like,
you guys are flirting so hard
God.
at NPC. Like,
yeah,
dude,
we
you
were
look
flirting.
sick. Yeah, you do look sick.
Yeah.
Just like
so I
muscles.
already liked Mike because he can tell he's a fucking awesome dude. And then he got assertive and like defended us and was like, hey man, you're crossing boundaries with these guys. And that was just a great moment. And just knowing that like we were already partying and having a fun time, but knowing that we were in good company too, like good friends, it was just
And then just he won his way after that. I don't know how forcibly or not.
We saw him at the hotel.
But then we got back to our hotel that night.
And he was camping.
And he was camping in the lobby for us.
He was camping, dude. He was camping with the shotty, waiting for with the journalist shotty, waiting to get us.
But we outran him to the elevator essentially.
Yeah. That's right. We were like, hey, let's get a nightcap when we get back. And we got back and we saw him in the bar and we were like, nope, let's fucking book it.
But that's the extent of our PAX stories. There's RTX, lastly, I think, is our big one.
Yeah.
There's some MomoCon stuff. We met CG5, did some panels, went to a party with them and met Oreo and Chi-Chi and CG5. And that was just a fun night. We played like Ultimate Werewolf and met their other circle of friends who also had come to NPC and stuff. So it was cool to establish those friendships so that we could kind of hit the ground running a little faster at NPC. But besides that, MomoCon wasn't too eventful for us. We had the panel, and it was just kind of fun to people watch and go to an anime con.
Yeah,
and it sounds like it's becoming a kind of a little anime rapper hub, which is obviously a lot of crossover. So I would like to maybe go to the next MomoCon just to see all the guys
too.
And gals. But that's MomoCon, and so. Yeah. But then RTX, I'd say, is our last, and we're not going to talk about NPC because we've done that ad nauseum. But the other last one is RTX, Rooster Teeth Expo, which is always in Austin, Texas, and that's the second most things we have to talk about. And I can't remember if we went to our first RTX as fans or we went there as part of the RT family. I can't.
I think we hadn't joined yet. We hadn't joined officially. The first RTX was in 2016 after PAX.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we went to that panel where they talked about the Let's Play family that inspired you to try to get us in. So we hadn't joined yet, but we were like you were starting to talk to them. You were talking to like Louis, that's right.
Yeah, it's Louis.
Yeah, my therapist is Louis. We were starting to get our foot in the door with Rooster Teeth. Yeah, and we
had
VIP
passes, so we got to be in the VIP party, interact with that. Or was that? No, that wasn't. That was the second year. They blend together, but so. We had limited interaction with the Rooster Teeth people.
What else did we do that year? We had two.
We did a lot of 6th Street stuff. No, only one. Tyler came that year.
I thought our buddy Raleigh did.
Then Raleigh and Tyler at the next one, and then that was our first year with Rooster Teeth. So that's what it was. But 2016. I mean, we got to meet some people. We met Jordan from the Creatures.
Yep.
Who we had kind of crossed some paths back in the Machinima day, and he remembered us. And it was fun to catch up with him. Very friendly guy. And then, I don't remember too much from that first RTX.
Yeah, it was just like getting into the vibe of Rooster Teeth and starting to see the development of Let's Play, which was pretty inspiring.
Yeah, it was kind of just a scouting / a lot of vibe crossover, I guess. with Rooster Teeth. That's ultimately why they took us in. Like, obviously, there's some fit, you know.
Yeah, even though we never really got to develop, because Rooster Teeth has changed a lot. As those of you who are Rooster Teeth fans know, it's changed a lot over the past like 5 to 7 years. But it always knew that if we had the chance, because we didn't really get the opportunity to get super into the network and get to know everyone, I know we would have. I know and the few people that we did get to vibe with, like we were talking about Funhouse, we started to become buddies with. So I guess I wish
from Achievement Hunter a lot.
Yeah.
And then the Game Attack guys who are now Hang Loose. But Sean Bullen and, oh my God, Craig.
Yeah.
We also got to hang out with them a lot. But
I
don't remember. Aneve's Gaming guys were maybe there. I don't remember it. God,
they
was
were
a while
there.
ago.
I think they were at the first one because we had just started to become friends with them.
Yeah, but we really only we spent a lot of time on 6th Street, and I remember that was, and this could just be like a weird bias of like the member berries, but it was still 6th Street, which is like a big party street. But I feel like every year after we went, it kept going downhill. And then Rainy Street became the new, and this means nothing unless you like know Austin. But then Rainy Street became the cool street to go to.
Yep.
But then that just got stupid fucking busy more and more every year. And it's like, where do you go now when you're in Austin, Texas?
And now everybody's moving to Austin.
Texas,
Thanks,
so fucking
Joe
crowded.
Rogan.
Yeah. So we got a taste of downtown Austin before it just became unbearable. And I still like to go, and I've been there for other conventions. So we've been to Austin maybe 15 plus times due to like RTX and Rooster Teeth stuff. But Rooster Teeth, I mean, the 2017 one was fun. We got to start interacting and being a part of everything. We had our own panels. That was fun.
Yep. I had a fun.
Yeah, it was it was probably 2019, but we were just doing a JT music panel, and
I think it was 2018 or 2017. I think it was 2017 actually. I think it was one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it wasn't sober at the time. Drinking was starting to ramp up, but I mean, it was for everybody at the event because we were partying a lot. So I was hungover that day, not proud of it, as I was hungover many days. I had to run to the bathroom in a panel just to pee because I had been hydrating so much. I didn't have to throw up. I actually just felt better. By the time the panel began, I felt better.
We're chugging Gatorades.
My hangover cleared up, so I felt great, but I had been chugging Gatorade, had to pee, ran to the bathroom, tried to pee really hard, forced out a little fart. The fart was not just air, it was a little bit of something else. And I had to run back to the panel, thought maybe something was going on down there, but wasn't sure, didn't really want to check. So I didn't check, but I was like, there might be something there. Took some pictures with fans afterwards. Ended up getting back to like the hotel, and then being like, it wasn't like a mess, but it wasn't totally clean, and I'm not proud of that. If you have
any pictures from PAX 2017 with Skull after that panel in front of that step and repeat banner?
Let me put it this way: it wasn't enough that I smelled. I don't remember smelling.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, I didn't smell. It was just a little bit. It was just that happened. So if anybody remembers that panel where I had to run to the bathroom, sorry that you know that now, but now you do. And hey, that happens. And you know what I did? I trucked through it with shit in my pants.
Yeah,
and that's dedication for you guys. That's
me to vamp.
Every podcast episode has to have a lesson. What's the one we're talking about here?
Truck through the suck.
Truck through the suck.
And that's the only example, I think. Truck through hangovers.
Truck through hangovers. Yep.
I don't know.
But yeah. But that was still a great panel. It's always fun doing.
There's like it's not coming. Like there's so many RTX stuff. It's just not coming to me right now. But. I don't know. RTX is fun. We didn't go to the last one due to just like travel burnout. But we do want to go to more. Met Troy Baker at the last one we did go to.
Yeah.
It was cool. We kind of talked about music projects, but nothing obviously came to fruition. But that would have been cool.
Yeah.
And then
did we get to meet Nolan North too? Or we just met Troy really briefly. That's right, because Fareed, I think it was our last day. We were all leaving, and he was like, "Oh, come over here." You called me over, and you were standing with Troy Baker, and I was shitting my pants.
Yeah.
I don't really remember what I said. I think we mentioned we were working on a BioShock Infinite song that he was like a huge inspiration to us and stuff. That was cool.
And then like maybe a day before, you and our buddy Raleigh had taken scooters in, and you went and kind of tried to park it in this little like alcove of like big pillars
outside
between a glass
our hotel.
window. And I'm sitting inside in the lobby, And I was like, oh, there they are. And then I could see you guys walk in, and then you're all in there. And then these two guys go to take your scooters who are kind of semi-hidden, and either you or Raleigh are like, who are these fucking assholes? I was like, that's Nolan North and Troy Baker.
And Troy Baker took our scooters.
Stole your scooters.
Just like such a surreal moment.
Yeah.
Of that.
I think there's some cool moments where Let's Play Live. A lot of that inspired kind of the production and showmanship with NPC, and will continue to, because like that was such a fun produced show. Both of them actually, because there was one at the Austin City Limits and then one at the convention center. Both were just so cool and so fun, and are big again inspirations for NPC. And then I was gonna say, it was just fun to be backstage with like all the like premier Rooster Teeth talent and just kind of be one of the guys and like and hanging out and drinking. They had an open bar behind the stage, which was a curious choice, which
was great for us. That was a ton of fun. Yeah, dude, because looking back at the time, I was so nervous. We were still pretty new to Rooster Teeth, like those first couple shows that we did, and like now being sober, I so look forward to events like that in the future, because I remember at the time being super excited, super grateful, but drinking a lot to get myself on stage. And again, the young budding alcoholic that I was, I have so much more like peace and pride in what we do. And it through those years, because like I talked about in the early years, there were still times where I feel like I didn't even though I took what we did seriously, there was a part of me that expected the world not to take it seriously. I think in my heart, even though I did expect and want people to take it seriously because it was our full-time job, there was a part of me that was just this annoying, irrational, self-conscious part of me that was like, we're just making video game rap music videos. It's not, and like just having less I don't know, confidence in what we did. And that was part of it, is like feeling, and a big part of it was imposter syndrome, feeling like getting on stage with these guys, like, oh, with these Rooster Teeth people, they're so famous. So I just remember having to drink a lot to have to cope with that. And now I don't feel that. I'm just so excited to go back to conventions and like enjoy and bask in it. Like, and because again, meeting all those fans and getting to interact with them just puts it all into perspective. I think if there is a big takeaway from this podcast, that's what it is. Like it just puts it all in perspective that what we're doing is actually reaching people and actually matters. Like entertainment matters.
And the combination of putting yourself out there and acceptance, or being open and vulnerable. Yeah. Because generally the reception is pretty good, or like especially when you go to a specialized place too, or a community, that's typically a blanket, or whatever, like I don't know, like a hug is coming in, I guess.
Exactly. People are just gonna be stoked, like
and that's maybe a lesson to people who haven't found comfort zones in communities, is that they exist, in ways. They don't have to be conventions. It could be a D&D group on Discord. I don't know. It could be whatever. But and then I think the last, it's like, where there's one more thing.
One more convention thing.
There's one more RTX thing. I had it in my brain. I felt it peeking out.
Was it, anything to do with the musical?
No. God, it was like something.
Something. Was it one of the times we were hanging out at the bar with the Couch Hop guys? I'm trying to think of the fun little moments. Like, I remember hanging out with the Couch Hop guys, and Alex from Couch Hop was also drinking Old Fashions, which was I think muddled Old Fashions, which was my drink. Yeah. And it was just like, oh, a man of culture.
Well, yeah, I think meeting some of the Couch Hop guys was cool. Yeah. And that was something that, like, oh man, I wish we had a little bit more of that.
Oh yeah, Brent. I remember Brent. Yeah. Brett. Yeah. Brent is from Neebs. Brett, we talked to Brett. I was talking to him about working out. He even said something like, "Oh, you guys should be on our podcast," which I was like, "Yeah, that could be cool. Are you going to torture us? Let's not do that."
Yeah, if you know Couch Up, they were like the depraved of YouTube of nerdcore. Not nerdcore of Rooster Teeth, but
wonderful guys.
Yeah, meeting Alex Marchand, I think Uber Haxor Novo is his name, online, but it was like a big it was the last RTX we had gone to. And they just had some like kind of tumultuous things, and they were shutting down their channel, and I had been following them for years and years and years, and I've been following this, and Alex was kind of like the bastion of it, and like handled it with so much professionalism and grace, and like this thing's kind of it's like a controlled crash landing, and he's doing it with so much grace, and so is Brett and the rest of the crew. But I was like, I know we don't know. I don't know you super well, man, but I've also been watching you for a long time, and like I'm on my side doing this, so I see, or I can infer a lot of things. And it's like super fucking proud of what I'm watching, and I don't know. I just like shared that with him, and it was like super nice, tender moment with like someone I don't really know, but it was like the weird example of a parasocial relationship where it's like there's weird overlap. I don't know.
But he appreciated that.
Yeah.
There was also, to back you up on that, I remember my ex had gone with us to one of the later RTXs when Couch Hop was, it was the end of Couch Hop. And I remember my ex was at the panel with us, actually thought that Couch Hop's content was really funny and really liked Alex. And this is like this tall, beautiful blonde who is not a gamer at all. Like, not that she sticks out like a sore thumb, but it's not really her cup of tea. And because she had no starstruckness being around Alex at this after party, and she went up to him and was like, "Hey, I don't really know your channel, but I really liked what I saw today, and I'm sorry that the channel is ending, but I wish you the best of luck." And like similar sentiments to what you have. Like she respected how he was handling it, and he gave her a hug. He was like, "Thank you so much," and it's just like wholesome stuff because he really did handle that whole situation so well and tried his best to, because it was a whole team of people that were affected by that. And it was sad to see.
And then
what's the moment?
I don't remember the moment.
Was it at the Let's Play party maybe you're thinking instead of RTX, like the summer? No, it was okay.
There's a lot of good interactions with Rooster Teeth people. You know, we didn't get our footing super in there. There was we kind of came in at a time where we were maybe the exciting thing, but then all of a sudden Sugar Pine 7 and Couch Hop.
Oh yeah.
We were kind of nestled between Couch Hop and Sugar Pine 7, who were just like the super shiny things that they fucking boosted up and lifted, and we were kind of there like, all right, whatever, we'll just keep doing our thing. But it was like it became very clear that they didn't know what to do with us / we weren't a priority.
Yeah.
And so it was like, so that definitely affected our how much we were ingrained and got to interact with people. And we did, got to hang out with Jack for a week and do the musical, and like, there was always open arms whenever we went to the events. Like, I'm not trying to paint a picture of being like cast aside.
Yeah, no, and I speaking for myself, I know a big part that I played into that is, again, feeling this imposter syndrome and just feeling like I don't belong here. These guys won't like me. Like what? And it was so stupid and irrational. And I'm sure the amount of alcohol I was starting to drink didn't help that.
Yeah.
Which again, I know I keep talking about sobriety, but it's pretty relevant on this podcast. Just the way my brain has changed so much. Yeah. In retrospect, definitely. Again, only speaking for me, that feeling of imposter syndrome. I thought, drinking at these parties would help me.
I remembered it.
But you remembered it. Good. But yeah, I thought drinking would help me. I didn't realize how much it was actually making me shell up. I feel so much, I look back on how I handled myself and I never really did anything bad. It was just like, dude, have more confidence in yourself. Know your self-worth. It's so important.
It's funny you talking about drinking and feeling shitty is what made me remember the thing.
Good. Okay.
And so, obviously as a talent or whatever, as a brand of Rooster Teeth, they kind of start trying to figure out how to place you in different panels and events and stuff like that. And they're like, you guys made the Can't Be Erased. Bendy just got signed on as a Rooster Teeth. Yeah. We're publishing Bendy now. And so they're like, you guys had that Bendy song. Like, you guys want to do a stage demo panel event situation? Like, yeah, sure, cool.
Sounds good. Oh, the guys who made Can't Be Erased play Bendy and the Ink Machine. Sounds like a great panel or event.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
And so we, of course, just the night before we partied. I don't know what party it was, but we did that. And it's 11, so it's not even that early. But we show up super drunk.
Still still drunk and a little high because we had a friend who brought some dabs.
Kep.
So, not that we condone the use of drugs and alcohol on this podcast, but if you're going to do it, be safe. And if you have addiction issues, don't do it at all. But that happened that night. We had some partying. We showed up to the panel, to the event, still with remnants of last night. So it was already fever dreamy, and we had to play this demo.
We had to play chapter as a demo form of Bendy and the Ink Machine. They slotted us for an hour, and we play through. And we're talking like we're doing the YouTuber thing. Like we're not like commentating over gameplay and kind of shooting the shit about the song, whatever, And we finish the demo, and we look, and it's 8 minutes later,
and we're
we finish the
lapped up.
demo, and we're like, Well, not even yet. And we're like, yeah, you're right.
We had lavs on, so we are like mic'd
we
up.
stand up and we're like, okay, and we don't know what to do.
I remember I said something like, "Oh, okay, are we done?" But it came through on the microphone.
We stand up and you could just hear this awkward.
Are we done? Like, do we just and then
we walk behind stage and we're like, we don't. What do we? We like go back out there and invite some fans up stage. We're like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we went back out and we had some fans come up and so Bendy and the Ink Machine is already, the concept is cool, but the gameplay really isn't good and it's so clunky, and it was just like so fever dreamy, like still battling these oncoming hangovers and having these sweet little fans come up on stage with us, and they were so bad at playing the game. It was torment. It was so bad. Bless them both, but they were so bad at playing it, and we're just standing there. It was just like, what is going on right now? And nobody was there. There were like maybe 3 people in the audience.
I'd say maybe 20 to 50, maybe 20 to 25, which Dane and Brock were there.
Dane and Brock were there, yep.
So they got to witness this shit show.
Yeah, it was just like, what is going on? It was the last day of the convention, so people were already trickling out, and it was just such a weird fever dreamy moment. But in retrospect, I'm glad you remember that. It was so funny. Kind of had to be there to witness the truth.
The best part is like an hour-long panel being done in 8 minutes.
Yep.
Us awkwardly like, are we done yet?
Are we done?
What do we do? And it's being laved up to mics through the whole fucking convention floor. And we walk backstage awkwardly. We come back out and we play the demo when you invite fans up on stage to play it. And we milk 20 minutes of stage time. And they're like, we're done. Like, and it's not even like, no one blamed us. Like, there just wasn't stuff there.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't meant to be a panel about Bendy and our song even. Like, we could probably stretch an hour of talking about the song
or
whatever.
Remember. Did we just have like a Q&A after? What did we do?
We left. It ended a half hour early.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was kind of just, I mean, they're planning so much stuff, so many slots. Like, you know, it's like a lot of thought can't go into every single one. Fair.
Yeah.
But it was just like, kind of thrown to the wolves in a sense too.
Yeah, like clearly that wasn't a prioritized event, which again,
just fine. Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But that's just classic, like probably the shittiest JT story.
Yeah.
In terms of like the shittiest moment.
Yep.
But it's still, I think everyone there had a good time. Like I don't think we did bad by ourselves by any stretch of the imagination. And like that, just the fact that we were super hungover and maybe even a little bit drunk still doing this event, it's just like a funny anecdote, I guess. Like
it is.
The awkwardness and the ill-preparedness of just being put in that situation.
It kind of felt like, not that Rooster Teeth did this, but it did kind of feel like we've got space to fill. Who's a guy we can just throw in there? All the other big channels
at the daytime
full.
TV slot.
Let's get those JT guys. They're the guys who had that one viral hit that join us for a bite. Yeah, just throw them in there. Didn't they do a Bendy thing? Yeah, it kind of felt like that, which I don't really blame them. Like another thing I wanted to briefly touch on, because like how you kind of said at the time we joined Rooster Teeth, it felt like you had Sugar Pine 7 and Couch Hop, who are these super diehard fan bases. So, like, they've got merch flying off the shelves, whereas our brand, even though the type of content we make has a higher likelihood
our numbers
of
and
going
consistency are way higher than they were.
But at the time, our brand wasn't as strong in terms of like selling merch or having people show up to our panels. So it kind of made sense. But the perk of that is because we didn't have as many people swarming us on the convention floor.
We still got to enjoy the
convention. We got to like really enjoy intimate interactions with fans, having conversations with them. It wasn't like we had to push through all the time. Like anytime somebody recognized us, we would get just as excited and be able to stop and be like, hey, let's talk and stuff. So I'm really thankful for that. Point is, like, we had the perfect level of recognition at all the RTXs, which is great.
It was fun. Every one of them had been fun.
Yeah.
And we'll go to the next one very likely.
Yep.
Well, the issue is they always put them on 4th of July now, which is kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, like, dude, I want to be celebrating America on 4th of July, dude.
Yeah. Also, like, go back home to Maine
and see the fireworks.
See the fireworks on the beach.
Yeah, you haven't been back up to New England in a while, so
I don't know. Change it. What is it?
Change it.
But that's our experience with conventions that we have not put on ourselves.
Yeah.
There's a few other things and stories, I'm sure, but. And that, you know, it's the beauty of this podcast is they'll come up when they're appropriate. So this won't be the last you hear about things from these situations, you know, in terms of new things that could come up as we remember them when they were relevant or whatever. But thank you all for hanging out and listening.
Yeah, and all the fans that we've met at conventions, you guys rock.
Big shout out.
Like, again, I want that to be the takeaway from this podcast. Like, you guys give us perspective, and all those memories are super treasured. Also, I wanted to say, dude, you've been hitting the weights. You look fucking beefy. I wanted to say that multiple times, dude. Look at that.
I haven't worked out in
dude, I can see
I've worked out once in the last month, so.
Dude, and I've had to take a break from working out, so I'm shrinking because I've got golfer's elbow.
You look fine. That group picture of us at the Hurricanes thing, you look like you look super disproportionate. You look so big.
I appreciate that, but no, you look beefy, dude. You look good. I just had to say that. I was like looking up on the screen, like, fuck, he's looking big. I gotta hit the weights harder.
Are you sure you're not looking at this thing?
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Anyways, also because you opened up about them, but you didn't shout them out by name, or at least you didn't say Nate. Shout out to.
Jerry and Nate, our buddies who are listening. I think I told them you don't have to listen to it, but it sounds like they just are. So if you're listening, we love you guys, and it's same with all of our friends and family who are listening.
And fans, and patrons,
why are you listening? You already know all this, but that just shows how
they don't know this stuff. So I'm sure this was fun for them.
That's true. Yeah, but it shows how fucking amazing friends and family we have. We love you guys.
I also have we wrapped up another funny story with your brother on Couch Hop. I think it was the first time your brother had come. Such a hard, we're winding down, oh, by the way, we went to a Couch Hop panel, and his brother came along with us, and we were up front because we had some pass. I don't know. We got early. I don't know. Whatever it was, we could just sit within the first 3 rows. So we're up front, and they're up there, Couch Hop's doing their thing, making jokes and whatnot. And
my brother was not a fan of their humor, and my brother wears his heart on his sleeve. So if he's not into it, he's just going to be. And my brother, he's got a bit of a RBF, a little bit of a
so it's like the RBF is exemplified by the fact that he wasn't super having a dope time.
So we're sitting in the front row. Nick's not enjoying it, and later he ended up meeting Alex, and this was a classic example.
But I love the picture of them seeing the faces of their fans, all laughing and smiling, including us. And then they see this broad-shouldered, dirty blonde guy, very I just picture the most straight,
very handsome, stoic face, but just scowling
and just not changing his facial expressions. Anyways, cut to the next day.
The next day, we're at some bar, just some offshoot little side party thing.
Party.
And Alex was there, and Alex knew us already, so we said hi. My brother introduced himself to Alex, and it was a classic case of two people who are a little too similar, just not vibing. And because my brother and
also
Alex
two people
are both
with big resting
bitch faces, both with Alex has this kind of dark, twisted, nihilistic sense of humor, and so does my brother. Very so. My brother tried to introduce himself, and Alex was just kind of short and just kind of stared at him. And I think it was
stared back. It was just the weirdest interaction ever.
Not a good. It was just
But I think, and it's just oversimplifying it, but it's just a funny situation of two people with resting bitch face, seeing the resting bitch face and thinking, "Fuck you, you hate me."
Yeah, it was an acknowledgement of there's no chemistry between us, and that is just gonna be. That's how it is.
And they probably, if both of them had opened up, I could see.
That's the thing.
Would be a different
think they're
story
too similar. I think they're way too similar. I think those two guys are way too similar, and but it was funny. So great moments and great memories, and especially the cringy ones. Don't go look up that clip of me from the 2016 Battleborn announcement
or the party
or whatever.
The clubbing scene where he throws a girl.
Oh God.
Anyways, thank you all for hanging out for real now.
We love you guys. This one went long, but it was a good one.
Yeah.
So good memories. Yeah.
Just good. I think good bangers of stories from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So thank you, wherever you're listening. See ya.